when you get ready to publish, you need to remember you'll have 26 lines the day of the STAR test. That doesn't seem to be a problem with you guys. You need to make sure that as best you can, you stay within the margins. I'm sure if you go, a letter or two out every once in a while, it's not going to be that big a deal, but they don't want you to make double lines or do anything. You have 26 lines to get your point across. There has been some questions with indenting, and so I just draw a star at the beginning of this box, a star at the beginning of this box, and a star at the beginning of this box, and that just reminds me that I'm going to indent. The other important thing with your final draft is that you write it in your nicest, neatest handwriting. So that's what I tried to do. So also I've had questions that people that are students that have written and said, hey, can I change it when I'm writing it over here? Yes, and that's exactly what I did on this. There were different parts I was like, oh, maybe I could combine that, or I can make this sound better, and so I can do that. Here's my brilliant beginning. My brilliant beginning is right here. And as you can see in my brilliant beginning, or my wow, I indented right here, but all the other lines go back and touch this margin. It said, my feet were propped up on the couch as a brown tail wagged up against, propped is right here, P-R-O-P-P-D. Propped up on my feet were propped up on the couch as a brown tail wagged up against me. My eyes were wet with dog smooches. This big boy is pretty darn special, I thought to myself. The pet I have loved the most is my lab, Bodie. Now, what I want you to notice as you're reading this is that I did not include any of the prompts. So I didn't say, like, what were my feet doing? What were my eyes seeing? What was I thinking? You don't do that on your final draft. You don't want them to know any of the tricks of how you wrote as well and as much as you did. Then for the body of my paper, my who, what, when, where, and how, it's going to go right here. This is it. So as you can see, I almost wrote to the end on that. I just skipped the rest of that line. I came down to the very next line. I didn't skip any lines, and I indented right here. So I indented on the first line, and all the rest of these come back and touch this line. I also didn't try to leave any spaces over here. Some of you are leaving spaces to the end of the line. You don't want to do that. So here's what I said. I've never met a dog as beautiful and faithful as my chocolate lab, Bodie. He was like a person, and when you wanted to be lazy, he was lazy. But if you wanted to get hyped up, he would get rowdy with you. Bodie was the perfect companion. Bodie was my husband's dog before we met, and Bobby had had Bodie since he was a teeny tiny puppy. He was no puppy when I met him. Now here's my fact. I said, can you believe he weighed 120 pounds? I guarantee you that's more than most fourth graders, so he was a big old boy. He was a gentle beast. Bodie loved to go on walks, but mostly he looked forward to duck hunting and playing fetch with a tennis ball. We spent all day every day with this dog because he was like our first child. Bodie stayed inside and only went outside when he needed to go potty. Sometimes if we left him out for too long, even if it was in the hot summer, he would shiver and act like he needed to be let inside because he was cold. Oh, brother. Bodie ate Ooga Nooga dog food mixed with warm water because he was spoiled rotten. He also liked to gulp fresh water. Then my excellent ending. I don't have very much room for it, but you want to make sure you fit an ending in somehow. So right here I indented for my excellent ending, and I did what I'll always remember. As long as I live, I will always remember my special furry buddy, Bodie. No other pet can ever compare to that special one that you love the most. So again, nice, neat handwriting, and this is what your final draft is going to look like. And when you get finished, you need to ask yourself, does everything in the story go back and support what you were going to write about? It all supports Bodie. And then ask yourself, it says to write about an experience you had with an animal. Did I write about an experience I had with an animal? Yes. Or how I took care of it, how you cared for it? Yes. And did I explain why he was special to me? Yes. So you just want to make sure that you go back and make sure that you stuck to the prompt. You guys are doing a fabulous job. I cannot wait to read these stories.